Hi, Bob Fonseca here. Welcome to the Media Room. And today I'm coming at you with a hot take. Is buying records just another form of gambling? All right, like I just said, I'm coming in hot with this weird theory of mine that the reason we love collecting vinyl so much is that it's just another form of legalized gambling. And before you come at me and say, oh, well, you're just being negative, I love this hobby. I really do. I've been collecting records since about probably the late 60s, and I have the proof on that. Here's the copy of the Beatles' Hey Jude, Revolution that I bought with my own hard-earned birthday money back in the day. It's a little long in the tooth. It's got a bunch of deep scratches in it, and the sleeve has seen better times, but this is it, and I'll always hang on. I have fond memories. I'm going to hang on to this because I have fond memories of waiting for school to end so I could rush home and throw it on my parents' Telefunken and listen to it over and over and over again. Love that record, and that was the first record, the first couple of songs I really got hooked on bad. And also I've got photographic proof that I love our hobby. Here I am at about 13 or 14 with my Motorola stand mount stereo. I also had an Iowa cassette recorder, and I used to take the microphone and put it up to the speaker and record my records. Good times. And here I am buying records with Elvis Costello. More good times. And here I am on vacation, bin diving at Reckless Records in Chicago. And here's one more. I'm partying backstage with all the members of Van Halen. All right, that's just kind of an obvious weird flex, but I think you get the point. I do dig music, and I love collecting records. Now, the reason that I started formulating this theory that collecting records appeals to us because it's just a kind of a form of gambling, right? Is because a few weeks ago I bought a $150 remastering of a classic record. It was a deluxe, audiophile edition. You might even be able to guess which record it is and the manufacturer. I'm not going to throw shade. I'm not going to name them because actually I like the company a lot. I buy a lot of their products. They have great customer service, packaging, the whole thing, the whole thing. But this particular record, not so great. I noticed that there were these repeating clicks. So it wasn't static. It wasn't any kind of problem with the equipment. It was just a bad pressing. And the clicks, they started about 30 seconds out from the run out on side 2 of disc 1. So I contacted the manufacturer. They said, send us photographic evidence. I had to take a screwdriver and a hammer and start, destroying the record. And I tell you what, if you've never done that, if you've never taken a $150 piece of plastic and started smashing it with a hammer, I'll tell you right here, it shakes you to your core. Defective or not, it just didn't feel right. But I sent the photographic evidence in, they rushed me out a disc 1, and guess what? The new disc 1 was dished, had a warp, and was kind of sliding around on the turntable. Wasn't making great contact with the platter. Again, contacted customer service. Out came the hammer, smashed another one, took a picture, and they sent me out another disc. So we're all good. Again, great customer service. No shame. They didn't ask any questions, and I finally got a good copy. But it took a while. So it got me thinking: Is the appeal of collecting records just the unknown, the fact that we're gambling? In other words, is this why we enjoy our hobby so much? Because there's a certain amount of risk involved. And so I started making a list of the ways that collecting records was comparable to gambling. Number one, there's varying payouts, right? So I could buy, say, a $150 remastered deluxe ultra hi-fi edition of a record, and another person at the other end of the world could buy the same record. We both paid $150 for it or so, but each of us could have a completely different experience. One of us could get a record that's completely dead flat, black, silent, and the other person could be like me and get a completely defective copy. That's the risk that we run. Now, is that fair? That one person should have this experience and another person should have that experience, even though we both paid the same amount of money? I wouldn't call that fair, but it happens, every day. So that was the first comparison. Number two, addiction. Can we talk about addiction for a second with our hobby and gambling? Now, in gambling, obviously, there are people that take the family's food budget for the month and put it on the roulette wheel, or on the electronic poker machine. Are we much better as vinyl collectors? As a kid, I found myself taking all the money I made sacking groceries or pumping gas and running straight to the store to buy the latest album, and then tucking the record under my jacket or under my shirt and sneaking it past my parents to get it up to my room. Now, if that's not addiction, I don't know what is. It's funny because I still kind of do that. I sneak records in the house still so my wife doesn't see them. I'm afraid what she might think, So they come right off the porch if they get delivered, and they're straight into my office before anyone can see them. You know what? That's one of the things about our hobby, is that we love it so much. We will go to the ends of the earth to collect records and to bring them home, no matter what the costs. But lately, speaking of gambling, I've got to honestly say that 50% of the records that I buy are defective in some way, the packaging or the record itself. And that's not a really good track record. Maybe I'm just unlucky, because look, God knows I'm not very lucky at gambling either. I don't gamble much. But I know there was one time I was at the Mirage in Las Vegas. The dice came to me. I was at the craps table, and I was down to my last couple chips. The dealer threw the dice to me, and I started rolling. And I was rolling great. I had probably somewhere between 12, 13, 14 passes, and I was just on a roll, right? And people were cheering, and chips were flying, and everybody was having a good time. That table was alive. But I had only put money on the pass line. While everybody else was making millions, I had my last couple chips on the pass line. And when it was all said and done and I finally crapped out, the croupier looked at me, and he had this smirk on his face. He goes, "Man, if you knew what you were doing, you could have made a lot of money." Oh, maybe I don't know what I'm doing at the craps table. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing when I buy records. But I just feel like recently so many of the records that I buy have not been in very good condition. Now, number three is guilt. And I already talked about guilt a little bit in number two, sneaking the records by my parents or my wife. But, I have guilt when it comes to returning records, and I'll explain why. When I was younger, in the 70s, and I bought a lot of records, anytime you had a defective record and you tried to go back to the record store and return it, they always looked at you with the evil eye, right? It was just assumed that you had taken the shrink wrap off the record, put it on the turntable, started your cassette recorder, and made a dupe for your friends and for you and all that. And so I was always very hesitant to bring a record back because I didn't want to deal with that scrutiny. Well, that guilt has kind of followed me into the modern age here, where if I get a defective record, it pains me to have to go to a retailer. I do buy a lot of records through local independent stores, and it kind of pains me to have to go up to the counter and say, "Oh, I've got this scuff. I got this Marvin Gaye $50 50th anniversary. And it was a $40 50th anniversary record, and it looked like somebody had walked on it when I took it out of the sleeve. And it took me about 3 days to work up the courage to go back to the dealer and make an exchange, because I just know what they're thinking. They're thinking I mishandled it, I scratched it, I scuffed it, and I have no problem with returns. I return 4 sound bars to the blue and yellow store in a month period because I didn't like any of them. I have no problem taking other stuff back, but there's something about records that just makes me feel a little guilty returning them. Okay, the fourth comparison is gear. In gambling, there's all kinds of different machines and apps and things that you can win and lose on. Same thing with playing records in a way. You've got mechanical things. You've got especially turntables. I mean, it's gotten so scientific over the years that if you're even the least bit OCD like I am, you can go a little bit crazy. Vertical tracking force, vertical tracking angle, azimuth, counterweights, anti-skate, speed fluctuations. There's all kinds of adjustments that you have to make to get the best sound. And again, that's kind of a playing field that you can win or lose on when it comes to playing your valuable records. And don't forget, there's also the rake angle and what kind of mat you use, and is the power clean, and again, it just goes on and on. And again, not a level playing field for a lot of people. Some people have great equipment. Some people have not so great equipment. Some people are actually damaging their records that their equipment is so substandard. So again, it's kind of a gamble. Do I wait until I have a better system before I start collecting records, or do I just go get a suitcase player and start spinning my $50 Bernie Grundman remasters on it? That's the question we have to ask ourselves every day. And number 5, always bet on black. I've bought a lot of records recently on vinyl that claims to be ultra quiet. Some of it's translucent, some of it's clear, some of it is in between. The quietest records personally, and again, this is to my ears and my experience with my equipment, the quietest records that I own, if I was to take out the 5 quietest records, the quietest vinyl that I own, all 5 of those records would be black vinyl. Always bet on black. That's just my opinion. Again, not throwing shade at anyone that's manufacturing on something else. I just have $40. I've got so many tone poets, so many $40 recent tone poets from Blue Note that are so quiet, that are so much quieter than some of the $100, $125, $150 records that I own, that I'm just starting to believe that black is the way to go when it comes to vinyl. Fight me on this. Leave your comments below. That's just my experience. I've gotten 2, UHQRs that are not dead quiet. They just aren't. But the tone poets just crush in that department. Maybe there are other advantages to the UHQR and some of those other specialty pressings, but as far as vinyl quietness, if that's even a term, black for me usually gets it. Which is not to say every black record that I own, every black vinyl that I own is quiet. They're not. But for me, my quietest records are all black. So those are just some of my thoughts about the similarities between gambling and vinyl. If you have any comments, leave them below. Please subscribe to the channel. I got more videos on the way, including some yestergear that I own, and I'll be shooting that stuff soon, and some other surprises. But yeah, I mean, I think that's why we love our hobby and we love doing what we're doing, because even though we occasionally get the bad record in my situation about 50% of the time, but we get up, we dust ourselves off, we jump back in the store, and we get another one in the hopes that we get that perfect record, that perfect package, that perfectly quiet, dead flat, beautiful vinyl that we love. And we sit down and we start listening, and we're hearing things we never heard before, and the endorphins are being released, and the melatonin that's not that puts you to sleep. The serotonin starts coursing its way through your body, and you just get good feelings and good vibes, and then it makes it all worthwhile. So right now, as a little bonus, I want to show you 5 of my recent Jackpot records. Nothing special. These are all pretty much current releases, but they are, for my money, great sounding records that you can go out and buy easily right now. All right, it's time for my Jackpot finds. These are recent purchases. In fact, I couldn't even narrow it down to 5. We're gonna do 10 records here real quick. I'm gonna keep them in their sleeves for the most part, and we'll just get through them. This is a purchase that I'm glad I made. This is just a couple months old for me, but one of my favorite rock records of all time, classic rock, Thin Lizzy, the Bad Boys from Ireland. Here they are, Jailbreak. I mean, this is all killer, no filler, this record. And this version from Vinyl Me Please, which was available as a loose record on their website, not part of their subscription, or may have been at one point, but I got this as a single purchase. Look at this foil cover. I've never seen Jailbreak in foil before. The die cut, the Jim Fitzpatrick artwork. In fact, there's an entire print inside, a black and white print on heavy stock of this artwork here. Of course, you got the hype sticker, the foil cover, as I mentioned, and look at this. This is called Overlord Orange. It's spectacular. It's got the Vertigo label with the flying saucer on it. You get the Obi sticker. I'm telling you, this is a record to have. This will go right to the. This is the one you're going to put on display right next to your turntable. It's fantastic. I'm glad I own it. Look for a good copy of this. This is the Kevin Gray version of What's Going On. Many consider it to be the greatest album ever recorded, and I'm not sure I will fight anybody on that. I'm not going to fight anybody. It may very well be, and this is the best version I personally have heard. Some people have complained that not all the versions are great. You'll see this in Target. You may see it in Walmart. You got to do your homework. Look for the Kevin Gray Coherent. This is the best sounding Talking Heads album I own, Speaking in Tongues. This is a relatively recent reissue, but this thing punches hard. It does. I don't know what to say about this. I found this. This is, again, a reissue. It's on beautiful pale blue vinyl, sky blue vinyl. Eddie Hazel, the guitar player from Funkadelic. You know, this was hard to get. I actually had to bring this in from Germany, import it from Germany, but I have seen it lately. It must be restocked in some record stores. If you can get a hold of this, it does not disappoint. I guarantee you it does not disappoint. This is one you're going to want to have in your collection. It's just cool. It makes you cool just owning it. And speaking of cool, how about this recent reissue? And it comes with a felt slip mat. It's not Now I've got it straight up. Okay, this is so cool and sounds so good. Bonus material, all kinds of goodies in here. Fantastic heavy gatefold cover. This is a great record. Heavyweight vinyl, run out groove, includes a poster and a turntable mat. It's all there. This is the complete package. This is a Christmas gift waiting to happen. All right, now the next one, some controversy because not everybody. You know, we talked earlier in the video about varying payouts. Some people have gotten and complained about horrible, horrible copies, pressings of this record, but the new Pink Floyd Animals. Now, when I put this on, it was so quiet. The vinyl was so quiet that I thought I'd forgot to turn my amp on when I dropped the needle. My amp was on. It was just dead quiet. This is fantastic. This is a much needed remaster, redo, remix, whatever they did to it. It's fantastic, at least my version. Your mileage may vary, so you may have to return a few copies before you get a good one, but this is another one to own. Spectacular book inside. It's hard to believe that this is around 30 bucks, this whole package, with the book and the sticker and the gatefold cover and the new cover and the artwork and the photography. Fantastic. I don't have to say much more about this than has already been said on the internets, but John Coltrane's Blue Train, here it is. I'm glad I got the double disc version. Again, I spoke earlier of Tone Poet from Blue Note, how quiet most of them are. This one's no exception. This one is as flat as a soda that you left on the kitchen counter overnight, and it sounds great. It hits hard, and this is a great record to have, even if you're not a jazz beau. It's spectacular. It's just spectacular. As is this Blue Note classic that I bought recently. I had no idea who Brother Jack McDuff is. This is called Moon Rappin'. And this one really slaps, man. I mean, I've got some Klipsch Fortes, and they came alive when I put this record on. Now, as you could tell from my previous photographs, I'm a rocker, and it took me a while to get into jazz. It's the Blue Note stuff that got me into it, because their stuff is just spectacular, from the packaging to the pressings. If you want to get into jazz and you've already bought Time Out or whatever and bought the one with the girl from Ipanema on it, but you want to get into jazz that's like rock and roll jazz, get this record. It will not disappoint you. This is a jazz record for people who like to rock. And speaking of rock, here they are. America's favorite TV stars, the Monkees. You know what's great about records like these? This is a fantastic pressing from Rhino. A 2-album set, extra bonus material, great cover, very heavyweight. I mean, look, it's built like a tank. You know what's great about records like these is most of the songs you've heard on the radio and you've never really heard on a good system. And when you do, it just comes alive. The separation, the instruments, you know, they had the best session players in the country at the time, the best songwriters. I mean, the songwriting hits hard, the playing is amazing, and you'll have a new respect of the Monkees when you get more of the Monkees. Again, another great Christmas gift, possibly, if they're still available. And another jazz record that hits like a Zeppelin record for me. This one may be a little harder to find now, I'm not sure. Kenny Dorham, this one's called Matador. Look at this cover. It's got that kind of canvasy texture to it. Can't really see it. It's from Impex. Again, maybe you're a rock and roll guy, but you're getting a little bored with classic rock. You've heard Radar Love so many times you can't take it anymore. Get something like this, or get something like the Coltrane, or get the Brother Jack McDuff, or get some Jimmy Smith, or there's all kinds of guys out there. When you research it, they're gonna talk to you. You know, even if you are a hardcore classic rocker, prog rock person, this record super good. Some of the best sound that's ever come through my system. So there are 5 plus 5 recent Jackpot finds. I hope you enjoyed that. Now back to Bob. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time in the media room.